Hey, good morning, church family. I want to give you a devotion this morning regarding the Wednesday before Jesus died. Now, we're getting close, right? 2 days. What was Jesus doing 2 days before? Well, Wednesday's interesting because we actually don't really know. There's not much. It's actually very, very quiet, except for one instance, and we'll get to it in a moment. But we saw him coming in on a donkey into Jerusalem. We saw him go and flip tables in the temple the next day and call out the money changers and those who were selling things for profit. We saw him begin to call out the Pharisees and give the Olivet Discourse, which is really the end times, calling people to an urgency to follow him. He's really trying to get everything out so that his disciples understand the times, but they're still not understanding. And we get to this point probably on a Tuesday evening in Bethany where a perfume is dumped on Jesus, and his disciples go, well, couldn't this very expensive perfume been sold and given to the poor? Like a good Christian, you know? But he goes, I won't be with you forever. The poor will. So this is just preparing me for my burial, right? This whole thing. They're not getting it. Well, then we have this character that kind of enters the scene. And this is one of the most details we get is towards the end of the story of Judas Iscariot. They don't bring much attention to him. The gospel writers don't. My suspicion is, why would you give this guy much room when he's betrayed the Savior? But it said about him that he would carry the money and he would steal from it from occasion. So we knew that there's a sense of greed in his heart, that he wasn't fully surrendered to Jesus in all of this. He was a disciple, but he really wasn't a disciple according to the teachings of Jesus, right? His whole heart wasn't surrendered to his rabbi. Man, but he saw everything though. I mean, he witnessed miracles. He witnessed beautiful teachings. He witnessed Jesus doing incredible things that are undeniably powerful. And it would cause you to at least ponder the fact that Jesus is something great. Well, there came a point, we don't know why, maybe it was because Jesus decided that perfumes poured on him was more important than being sold for money. We don't really know why, but we do know that we can infer at least that in Judas there's a sense of greed, probably a sense of pride, probably a sense of he's looking for some level of power. Jesus isn't politically driven. He's different than maybe he initially thought Jesus would be like as the Messiah. And he wasn't meeting his expectations, which I think we all have fallen in that category. Has Jesus met our expectations for what he wants us to do? Man, God, I'll believe you if you do this. Show me a sign and I'll trust you forever. We put him to the test way more than maybe we should. He's God. He's Lord. And Judas is at some level disappointed with that. And so he would rather get some money. And this is what it says in Matthew chapter 26. He says, one of the 12, Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, what are you willing to give me to betray Jesus to you? And they weighed out 30 pieces of silver, which is about $25, by the way. From then on, he began looking for an opportunity to betray Jesus. And I want to bring this thought to you. None of us really compare ourselves. We don't read this and go, man, am I Judas? That's silly. We don't. But how many of us have actually been like Judas? Where we've sought our own desires, in which we've seen what God has done to human hearts, the miracles he's done, the story he's written in our life, the things he's just done incredibly, and we've denied them. We've put them out of our mind. We've ignored them because we feel like we know better. We can be our own savior, however you want to put it. And how many of us have devised plans to betray Jesus in our own actions? Devising a plan would be just thinking about how our sin. We've planned our sin. We've planned disobedience. And so we've all had a taste of what it is like to be Judas. And often we can do that. And really, it all comes down to a surrendered heart. Do you and I have a fully surrendered heart? I know I keep talking about this, but the Bible keeps talking about this. Are we someone who says, I follow Jesus, I believe in the miraculous of Jesus, yet there are things that you still sell out on? That's a question we want to ponder today. Because I don't know about you, but the last person I would ever want to be in the story of the scriptures is Judas. No one wants to stand on that side. Nobody. And and what can happen is sin can be sneaky and creep into our hearts, and little bit after a little bit, time after time, as we allow it to permeate in our heart, it can actually change and do a radical turning of our heart. And we see that in Judas. For $25, everything he saw, he sold Jesus out for $25. I want to encourage you just to consider that question. What in you is prone to be like Judas? And if it is, then all we have to do, because Jesus is good, is bring it, confess it to him, and say, God, help me change. And he will begin to help you do that, begin to shift the attitude of your heart. And you just walk with him and help him walk you out of places where you can be prone to look like Judas.